Hello there, and welcome to episode 13 of Awaking Moment podcast. I'm Danny Palacio, and I am honored to be here today. The topic is the goddess, and it's a big topic. And I just want to say that it is inclusive. So the goddess is not strictly limited to the feminine. And I guess maybe even a better way to say that is not strictly limited to women. It is feminine, and men have feminine energy just as much as women have masculine energy. So this is really an exploration of a bit of history, a bit of what this word and topic, the goddess, means, and then where you might be able to tune into your own self. Because as we learn and explore this topic in the next, few minutes, we're gonna also talk about what it represents. And when we talk about that is when you can really tune into where does it feel in your body, where does it land within you, and so I encourage you to have an open mind. This, again, remember, the podcast is about sparking and understanding and discovering your own inner truth. And so, and if you're interested more in like the divine feminine and really what that was about, Tiffany Van Gooey and I did an episode, and I'll link that in the summary so that you can dive into that and maybe review it, because it was a wonderful podcast. So here we go. When I say the goddess, people might think of statues, might think of various archetypes and goddesses from other cultures, such as Isis in ancient Egypt, Inanna or Ishtar in the, I want to get this one right, Mesopotamian era of our evolution on this planet. And even Aphrodite is one of the great Greek goddesses. And so there are archetypes and deities, goddesses, throughout every culture. I can think of even Kuan Yin as a goddess, and that's very, she's associated mostly with China, but actually all the way through the Asian cultures, the Pacific area of China, Taiwan, Thailand, Vietnam. They all have a version of her. They don't always call her Kuan Yin. And all of these archetypes that I'm mentioning so far all have qualities of love, passion, and even war. So Ishtar is a very interesting goddess because she was revered as the goddess of love and war. And she was also the goddess that inspired passion, sensuality, fertility. And Isis is very similar. She is, that particular word is translated into the throne of the throne, or the queen of the throne. So very powerful, very insightful, very leader-oriented archetypes that we're talking about. And Aphrodite, the Greek goddess, she was also known for her sensuality, her beauty, her love. And she not only accentuates that, but she also instills that for people, inspires them to step into those qualities. So if you're looking at yourself and you're wondering, what quality do I need? Like, what part of me needs a little boost, needs a little attention, a little time, a little extra love? Archetypes are great ways to do that. And the goddess and all of her various forms are beautiful teachers and beautiful inspiration. You can look to their lineage, to their history, to their culture that they were associated with, and to then, of course, what they represent. And I have to admit that I have not researched this before, and it's one of the processes I do for this podcast is research information. And I wasn't sure why I got the nudge to talk about this because, like I said, Tiffany and I had already done an episode on the divine feminine. And I thought, well, doesn't that cover it all? And it doesn't. And the insight I got once I started researching it is, oh my goodness, there's so much information out there and it's overwhelming and a bit confusing. And I had to like take a step back and breathe, step away from the research and be like, what do I know? Because this is honoring my inner truth. Like, what do I know about this? And the honest truth is most of my understanding of the goddess or goddess energy is a personal experience. It is something that I have remembered. And it is innately natural for me to feel and think in this way related to goddess energy, the goddess. And so let me explain it a little bit like this. This might help kind of wrap around a new perspective. So the human body and the energy body, there's a left side and a right side. And the left side is often attributed to the feminine. It's the place where we receive, and it's nurturing, and it's lovely, and it's quote unquote motherly. Not that feminine energy is only motherly, but I think in our culture we think of feminine and we think of mother, and then when we get into it a little bit further, we might think of sensual love, peace, compassion. And the right side of the human body, energy body, is masculine, and it's about releasing. It has a lot of action-oriented energy about it. And so if you think about opening your hands up and reaching out when you want to receive something, go with the left. If you are ready to express birth and release, go with the right. And another point of this could be in the Chinese culture, they have yin yang, and it's opposing forces often depicted as white and black. But within the middle of those white and black, there's the white has a little black dot and the black has a little white dot, meaning that they are interconnected and that they are part of each other, and they're complementary. Like, they complete the circle, because often if you see that icon, it's in a circle, and then it's got this I don't even know what to call that, more like a drop, like a teardrop shape, and one of them's white, one of them's black. And we can go take it one step further and talk about light and dark. Those don't exist without each other. You don't know darkness until a spark of light happens, and you don't know light until darkness creeps in. And they help define each other. Light and dark are, well, they're codependent. Like I said, they don't exist without each other. If everything was light, we would have no boundary, would have no distinction. If you're an artist and you paint or draw, you know what it means to bring in the highlights and the lowlights and the shadows. And often if you're a painter and you're painting an outside landscape, you're wondering, where is the sun? And so in your painting, you'll pick a place where the sun is shining down, and that will illuminate the painting oftentimes. So again, this concept that things are separated, that they are only for one or the other, is something that I just want to like break down in your thinking. Everything is interconnected. Everything is part of each other. In the energy world, energy is everything, and we are the everything. And there is no separation between you and me and the plant and, the flower or the tree. Like, we're all one. We're just showing up in different representations, different physical forms. And so when I do Akashic record reading, I always say that we have incarnations, because I used to say lives, but the truth of the matter is we don't always incarnate as human. We can incarnate as a rock, as a tree, as an animal, as an insect, as a star, even, right? So we can be more than what we think. And I've discovered that by doing so many readings over the past several years, and also by educating myself more on different levels of belief systems around, I think our world calls them aliens. I don't really call them aliens so much. I see them as star brothers and sisters because, there's this scientific proof that we humans living on planet Earth are made up of stardust. Like a majority of what we have in us is stardust, because the stars are always shifting, evolving. Their light is ending. And so the dust of that settles into our earth atmosphere and down into our cells, into our bodies. And I love that thought that we're made up of stardust. It's another perfect reason why you should let your light shine. You're a star. So don't ever doubt that. Okay. So now when I talk about the goddess, I want to talk a little bit about, and by the way, there are so many archetypes of goddesses, right? I have books and books on all the various goddesses, and I could sit here and read through what they are, and it would take me all day. So if I have included some links in the summary, so I want you to take a look at those and just allow your interest to peak. And again, if you're wondering, I'm going to go back to what I said before, which is, if you're living your life and you're wondering, gosh, how can I have more compassion? I want you to Google compassion and goddess. And whatever that quality is, whether it's compassion, love, peace, joy, pleasure, sexuality, fierceness, setting boundaries, everyone has, if you do that, if you put in the quality and goddess into Google or into any search engine, you're going to come back with answers. And there's going to be a list of goddess names that you can then explore. And it's really fun because you can find their picture, you can order a statue, you can even explore the culture, like maybe there was a certain city or a certain time of within the history where you could explore a little more and see what resonates with you. When I've done this, when I've come into an awareness, like I was in a meditation years ago, and I was very much into the East Indian culture. And I had this image of a goddess coming up, and I kind of thought it was Lakshmi. She's one of the deities over there who has to do with wealth and abundance and beauty. And she's beautiful. And what I like about East Indian depictions of their goddesses and gods is that they're super detail oriented, lots of color, and includes lots of symbology in it, which helps you know what they're representing. Anyway, so in this meditation, this goddess, and I, again, thought it was Lakshmi because I was most familiar with her. And she's walking up to me and I'm like, whoa, who are you? And she's holding like this instrument. And she's got like swans and she's got multiple hands. And, and I was like, again, I think it's Lakshmi, but it wasn't. Her name was Saraswati. And she represented musical harmony, peace, beauty. A lot of the goddesses represent beauty. Obviously, it's one of those main qualities, which I kind of love because I don't think in the U.S. culture we embrace beauty in an appropriate and healthy way. I think we embrace beauty based on what we've been told beauty is, and we can thank marketing and we can thank multinational companies, huge conglomerates, around what is beauty. But really, beauty is within, right? It is the aspect of yourself that softens your harshness, that enables you to shine, it enables you to look into the world and find goodness. That's all beauty, right? It's funny because I mentioned Isis, ancient Egypt, and that particular culture is, as much as I know about it, which is honestly one drop in the bucket, but I love it because they have always adorned themselves with they were one of the first civilizations to like figure out how to make paste and gel and with color. They would use insects or leaves or flowers, and they would dye things red and blue, and they would paint things. A lot of times, I've not been to Egypt, but the studies that I've had and the friends that have gone to Egypt, they're amazed by the fact that a lot of the um, paintings on the walls and a lot of the sacred objects were painted, and that paint was like blue and green and red and gold and white and black, and those inks, that dye, still exists. Still there's a remnants of it, meaning, it lasted thousands of years, which is incredible to me. But they adorned themselves with the paint, with the glitter, with not glitter per se, but with the essence of sparkles, and it was their part of their beauty, part of their routine, part of their tradition, part of their spirituality, and also, simply part of their culture. And when I look at America and I look at what the beauty industry has done to us, I just feel like it's warped our belief systems. Like, if you're watching this, I'm wearing my red lipstick, and I'll tell you a little story about that. I worked in corporate America for 30 years, a long time. And even when I was working at home, or when I even wasn't working in corporate America and I was just having a session with someone, I would often put on lipstick. And I didn't quite understand why, but like I mentioned around that ancient Egypt story of their culture, it was about definition. It was about reminding myself of being empowered and owning who I am. And I always spoke with more boldness, more direct when I had lipstick on. And it doesn't mean that I don't do it without lipstick. Of course I do, but I had to really look at why I put lipstick on. And this particular one is called Vixen. And I love it. I love the name. And I love that it's not glossy. I love it. And some will say, because I can hear friends in my head going, lipstick isn't healthy for you. There's lots of toxins in it. You need to use all natural. Amen. Amen to that. I agree. And every once in a while, I'm going to wear my bright red lipstick. And I have different shades of red, but this is one of my favorites. So, and if you're not watching, I don't know, tune in, turn it on, and give a look if you're curious. Oh my goodness. I want to talk more about the goddess energy, because I really believe that this is not, like I said in the very beginning, this is not about being a man or being a woman. This is about honoring the energy of the goddess. And it is slightly different than the goddess. When I say the goddess, like I mentioned, it's about a archetype, a being. And in the Celtic world, here, before we go into the goddess energy, in the Celtic world, Caradwyn is often referred to as the goddess. And she is fiery. She sits around a cauldron. She owns her witchy self. She has a pig and a chicken as part of her entourage. And she's fiery. She often has red hair. And it's beautiful. But the goddess in Ireland can be considered Bridget, the keeper of the eternal flame. So there's a story of how the Sacred Heart, the light, needed to stay burning. And Bridget was one of those that was a caretaker of that. And she represents so much more, but that's what she represents to me, is the eternal flame that we have within us, and that there is this beautiful goddess helping keep watch, making sure that our flame doesn't go out. It dims, obviously, but we want it to rage. We want it to fill up because it's energy, it's life force. So I could go on and on about this. Lots of cultures. Obviously, I've talked about being Mexican, and Our Lady of Guadalupe is seen as a goddess. But in the Catholic Church, she's revered as, as the mother of the church. So it's slightly different, although not really. There's when we go back even further into the Mexican culture, you get into the ancient civilizations, the Mayan and others, and they have a list of deities as well. And so, like I said, this is endless. So I hope that this has sparked some kind of insight or curiosity for you to be like, Danny mentioned a lot of stuff, and what does it all mean for me? I really love it when people go, for me, like ending your sentence, da, 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 for me, because it is unique and it's independent and it's individual and it's beautiful. And so again, let's go into goddess energy a little bit, because I want to talk about it from an energetic perspective. So it's a concept that has to do with feminine energy, and it is in everyone, and it is the energy of love, life. It is trusting your inner knowingness, trusting your intuition, welcoming your deepest desires, manifesting your potential. It creates personal freedom and bliss, and it spreads ripples of powerful energy into the world. And I believe that that is so critically essential for our day and age. I found out that the goddess, I did some Googling and found out that it's actually a religion. It's a spiritual concept, but there's actually a religion, and it's a movement. I found that out too. It was a movement, and it's about empowering women to stand up and to be seen. And we live in a patriarchal society, and the patriarchal society is very masculine oriented, very male oriented. And over the last 50 years, the course of my life, and then I go back to my mom's life, the course of her life, and her mom's, and the course of her life, women got the right to vote. Women have the right to own their bodies, although that's being questioned right now in our society in 2024, which is crazy, in my opinion. Don't mean to offend anyone if you think differently, but that's my truth. So I just own that. We have the right to know who we are and live our truth, whether it meets or fits into any boundary or concept or societal acceptance. No, you get to be who you are. And I believe that down to the core of myself, because I believe that we are energy first and human second, and we have to honor that energy, that knowingness, that inner truth. And goddess energy helps us do that. For me, it's not a religion. For me, it's a way of living where we are asked to be compassionate, be an example. And again, whether you're a woman or a man or somewhere in between, non-binary, whatever that might look like for you, it's the same principle. Standing up for what you believe is a feminine energy. Fighting for what you believe, taking action around what you believe, is masculine energy. And you need them both. And there's a spiritual concept of divine union, where the feminine and the masculine energy within you meet. And when they meet, they look into each other's eyes, they feel each other's energies, and they merge into a beautiful helix kind of energy, intertwined, if you like a DNA, but more like an infinity symbol. I can't remember the word right now. Sorry about that. But the infinity of them connecting and intermingling and coexisting and supporting each other brings this level of support and honor and beauty and connection to your energy system, to your mindset. And then you can create from that. You can live in that. And so divine union is taking that goddess energy and the God energy within you and being the full creator, co-creator of your life. And we don't own that enough. We give our power away all the time. We read a book and be like, oh, that's the answer. That's what I'm going to do. I believe I've shared my experience with dieting over the years, and I would read a diet and I would change my whole life. I'd throw out all the food in my cabinet and I'd go buy everything they said I should buy and eat. And then I would follow their recipes and I would do their diet, whatever the diet was. And it never worked. Like, it worked temporarily, but I think what we're all longing for is long-term sustainable ways of being, ways of expressing, ways of creating. And a quick fix is just that. It's a quick fix. So when you embrace goddess energy and you take a look at how you can love yourself more and how you can manifest what you want and create what you need and trust, again, it all comes back to trusting your inner wisdom, your inner knowing, because without that, you're just trying on clothes, one outfit after another, after another. In some healing traditions, they call them masks. You put a mask on, and then you put another mask on and another mask on. And then at some point in your life, you'll probably hit a wall and be like, what is going on? Something is not right. And you'll find out that you've never taken any mask off. You have multiple layers of masks. And so you don't even know what you really look like. I mean, I think that's devastating, truly devastating. So shine your light, own who you are, and know that there is the goddess within you. Know that you are part of this bigger concept of goddess energy, and you have the power within you to be who you are. And I 100% support that. And I want you to live in that authenticity and live in that knowingness. And however you get to that knowingness, that understanding, it may not be through the goddess. It might be through something else. But whatever that is for you, I want you to embrace it. I want you to own it. And I want you to live according to how it feels good. And I don't like that word, but it's something that we understand where it feels, I would say, in alignment, but it feels so delicious. It's so yummy that you can't stop but having more and wanting more of it. That's kind of a fun way to explore it. So I wish you all the best. And oh, I don't think I said why I even picked the topic. So this is episode 13. And episode 13, we just did numbers on episode 11. Well, 13 is the number of the goddess. She is the divine feminine. And 13, numerology wise, is when you look at Venus and the planet, she does her rotations and she has a cycle. And I'm going to say she makes a 5-pointed star in the sky, and it takes her 8 years to do that cycle. And so 5 and 8 is 13. That's Venus. And by the way, Venus is Aphrodite. So even though there are Greek gods, I don't think I mentioned any Roman gods. So again, these archetypes have different names in different cultures. It's a fun exploration. And And then lastly, but not least, is there's only like 3 or 4 of them a year, but Friday the 13th, lots of people have some really weird thoughts about that. Um, and I know where they come from. They come from a fear of the feminine, a fear of the goddess. So Friday, our name for that day, it comes from the Nordic god Freya, Friday, Freya. And 13, when it's combined with 13, is an added amplification of that feminine energy. So Friday the 13th is a very blessed, beautiful, potent day. It is not a day to fear. It is not a day to, get your holy water out and like feel like you're going to be attacked by darkness. By no means is that the case. Friday the 13th can be a very empowering, special, magical day, a day where alchemy is available to you in a new way, in a different way than any other day. And like I said, it's a pretty special day because we only have like 3 or 4 of them per year. And so the next Friday the 13th, I want you to think about this podcast. I want you to think about the goddess, and I want you to own that feminine energy is stirring up some goodness in you, and go with it. So, okay. Thank you so much again for joining me. I really appreciate it. I wish you a wonderful week, and I will see you next week.